In a stunning turn of events that speaks volumes about Donald Trump's current political standing, footage from his recent rally in Pennsylvania captured an unexpected sight. For a man who has long touted his ability to fill arenas and rally vast crowds, Trump's crowd at this Pennsylvania event told a different story. As the camera panned out, revealing rows of empty seats and supporters slowly filing out, it became clear that his usual magic might be losing its hold. But what caused this unprecedented scene? And what does it signal for a candidate who has long relied on his supporters' unwavering loyalty? Today, we'll dive deep into this unusual turn of events at Trump's Pennsylvania rally. We'll explore not only why the crowd began to thin out as Trump spoke, but also why this moment is significant in the larger context of his political campaign. By analyzing his rally, we'll uncover the disconnect growing between Trump and his base and what this tells us about the possible future of his campaign. So, get ready to go beyond the surface as we dissect the strange phenomenon of Trump's empty crowd and what it could mean for his 2024 ambitions. 1. Trump and the power of the crowd, a foundation shaken. Donald Trump has always relied on massive crowds as a visual symbol of his popularity. Since his 2016 campaign, Trump has used rally attendance as a sign of his movement's strength, regularly boasting about the size of his crowds. He has consistently framed crowd sizes as a metric of success and a way to demonstrate that he has the unwavering support of the people. In fact, Trump has even gone so far as to attack other public figures over their ability, or perceived inability, to draw similar numbers. Most recently, he took aim at none other than pop icon Beyoncé, claiming she couldn't pack a stadium in the same way he could. He painted a picture of her concert as a failed attempt to gather crowds, alleging that attendees had expected her to perform, only to leave disappointed after hearing her endorse Kamala Harris instead. But as the footage from Trump's Pennsylvania rally shows, it's Trump himself who struggled to fill the seats, a bitter irony for a man who defines his success by his audience size. Trump's fixation on crowd sizes is part of a broader narrative where he positions himself as the man of the people. This tactic was powerful in 2016, where his massive rallies created the impression of a political outsider backed by grassroots support. But now, with an audience visibly thinning out before him, the strength of this narrative appears to be eroding. 2. The authoritarian rhetoric and the audience's response. One of the most telling aspects of this Pennsylvania rally was not just the dwindling numbers, but also the audience's overall reaction to Trump's message. Trump opened with his typical strongman rhetoric, painting a bleak picture of America's current state and positioning himself as the sole savior. Early in the speech, he referred to America as a garbage can, asserting that other countries were throwing all their garbage into the United States and that only he could stop it. Such language is classic Trump, dramatic, dire, and designed to instill fear while rallying his base around the promise of his protection. But what's interesting here is that this rhetoric, once magnetic to his supporters, seemed to fall flat. As the camera panned out, the lack of enthusiasm in the crowd became evident. Supporters who once fed off this messaging appeared disinterested, even uncomfortable. Some sat in silence, while others looked visibly restless. Historically, Trump's supporters have cheered on this rhetoric, but this time, the reaction felt subdued, almost as though the spell had worn off. This scene raises an important question. Could Trump fatigue be setting in among his base? 3. The symbols of far-right ideology in plain sight. Adding to the strangeness of the event, some eagle-eyed observers noticed the presence of far-right symbols within the crowd. In particular, pillows emblazoned with the number 1488 were visible, a well-known white supremacist symbol that references both the 14 words slogan used by white nationalists and 88, which stands for Heil Hitler, due to H being the 8th letter of the alphabet. This is not the first time such symbols have appeared at Trump rallies, but their presence in 2024 speaks to the growing alignment between Trump's platform and more extreme elements of his base. However, The broader public's perception of these symbols could further alienate mainstream voters who are uncomfortable with far-right associations. For Trump's rally-goers who aren't part of these extremist circles, the presence of these symbols could be unsettling. Those sitting nearby who weren't displaying such insignias had visibly muted reactions, some even looking visibly uncomfortable. This silent majority in the crowd, once thought to be Trump's biggest asset, now appeared increasingly disconnected from the symbolism emerging within his rallies. 4. Silence in the background, the hostage-like atmosphere. Throughout the speech, the group seated directly behind Trump remained notably silent. These individuals, often carefully placed for the benefit of TV cameras to create an appearance of enthusiasm, looked more like bystanders than supporters. At various points, they were caught on camera staring blankly, some looking downright embarrassed, almost as though they'd been coerced into sitting behind him. Even when Trump attempted humor, the crowd barely responded. At one point, he referred to Anderson Cooper, the CNN journalist, as Allison Cooper, in what appeared to be an attempt at a derogatory joke. The crowd behind him didn't laugh. Instead, some shifted uncomfortably, while others looked away as though they were reluctant participants in the spectacle unfolding on stage. This lack of response from the audience speaks volumes. In Trump's 2016 rallies, humor and insults against his opponents were often met with roars of laughter and applause. But now, his jabs seemed to fall flat, with some attendees appearing either embarrassed or simply bored by the display. 5. Misrepresentations and fear-mongering, transgender issues. As his speech continued, Trump made his stance on transgender issues a central talking point. He accused Vice President Kamala Harris of supporting policies that would allow minors to undergo gender-affirming surgeries without parental consent, a claim that is not only misleading but outright false. His words seemed aimed at stoking fear, casting Harris and Democrats as advocates of extreme and unorthodox policies that would undermine traditional family structures. Trump's approach here exemplifies his strategy of relying on sensational claims to energize his audience. But with the rally footage showing people filing out mid-speech, it appears that this tactic might be backfiring. Rather than rallying his base around this issue, his extreme rhetoric seemed to alienate even his supporters, leaving many uncomfortable with the tone of his comments. 6. Nostalgia for a bygone America. Trump's reference to 1798. One of the more surreal moments of the rally came when Trump referenced 1798, describing it as a great time in America. This reference, particularly obscure, alludes to the era of the Alien and Sedition Acts, a time when the U.S. government wielded significant power to suppress dissent. These laws were famously authoritarian, making Trump's admiration for them particularly striking. As Trump spoke about making America great again by looking to this restrictive era, attendees continued to slip out, signaling their disinterest. Trump's audience has often celebrated his brand of nationalism, but it's possible that his specific admiration for such a repressive period struck a discordant note with those seeking a forward-looking message. 7. The mixed message to Muslim Americans. In an attempt to appeal to Muslim voters, Trump met with a group of Muslim community leaders in Michigan shortly before his Pennsylvania rally. His message, however, was complicated. While he presented himself as a candidate for peace, he has a long history of anti-Muslim rhetoric, including the infamous Muslim ban during his presidency, which barred travelers from several predominantly Muslim countries. For many in the Muslim community, Trump's outreach feels disingenuous at best and deeply hypocritical at worst. Journalist Mehdi Hassan put it best, pointing out that Trump's policies have caused real harm to Muslim families. For instance, Syrian-American families were often unable to see relatives due to the travel ban, a policy that deeply affected numerous communities. The Pennsylvania rally was a stark departure from Trump's typically energetic and packed events, and the visual of emptying seats could not have been more symbolic. This rally was intended to be a testament to Trump's enduring popularity, but it ended up revealing cracks in the foundation of his support. With the silence from his audience, The visible discomfort and the steady trickle of people walking out, this rally may foreshadow a significant challenge for Trump as he heads into the 2024 election. In the past, Trump has drawn strength from the passion of his followers, using their enthusiasm as both a shield and a weapon against his opponents. But as the Pennsylvania rally showed, that fervor may be fading. For Trump, this shift is more than a blow to his ego. It's a potential turning point in a campaign that relies heavily on his personal charisma and appeal. If Trump cannot reignite the enthusiasm that once propelled him to victory, he may find himself facing an uphill battle in 2024, with only the shadows of his former crowds to keep him company.